What's going on, everybody? This is Nick Lawson from Squad Sports, and this is episode 41 of your sports sponsorship tip of the week. This week I'm back with the headphones. Microphone broke, got to buy a new one, so that's why we have this apparatus. But I got an exciting tip of the week for you, and it really pushes upon that boundary of shifting and shaping what sports sponsorship is. This is how we kind of need to start thinking about things. I hate the term new world. I hate, the new fan, all of this. Honestly, we just need to be understanding how our fans consume. And by the way, it's many times the same way they consumed pre-pandemic. Start to build our assets around those incentives. We're leaving a lot of dollars on the table. We're leaving a lot of engagement on the table. So this is a package that honestly I think is not ready for sports sponsorship yet, but you should implement one or two of these types of campaigns within your sponsorship packages and align the incentives like this. So this is based on video. Video, obviously in sports, we have a ton of reach, but what's been intriguing with me lately has been just the longevity of video. A lot of times, brands will pay to have a sponsored logo, let's say on a Twitter video or just a YouTube video one time, and then they pay for that single transaction. They constantly then, every time somebody views it, especially if you post it on YouTube, are getting free advertisement. Think about that. Imagine if Seinfeld didn't get the licensing every time somebody watched that show, yet they were able to run commercials on it. That's how we need to think about some of our assets. So the tip of the week is this. I would love to see a package in sports sponsorship where you create your highlight video, whatever it is, create that engaging content. Maybe it's a focus in highlight video on a player, right? One of your top players, one of the ones that if you're in college, they're going to go to the league. If it's minor leagues, that they're going to be drafted. If it's pro sports, one that is going to be the longevity piece. And have a sponsor that live video, but then also build into their contract that the duration of that video, they're going to pay royalties on per view. And here's the reason why this is so important. Imagine if you shot a video on Tom Brady right when he was undrafted about his chances with the Patriots, and you followed Tom Brady through training camp, right? That video would only increase in viewership the more Super Bowls he won. So obviously the sponsor that's on that video is going to build brand value for years and years and years to come. Setting up a contract to where they're paying for those years and years and years in the brand value that they're bringing is exactly how YouTube sets up their paid ads. So, there are X Factor, American Got Talent. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you've seen that I'm very intrigued with how much they are making money from 2016 auditions that people are playing on YouTube and making ad money for that. In sports, we need to be thinking about that. And what that does is, again, it proves the value to the sponsor. I would argue it would keep them on for longer as a sponsor, right? Because if they want to pull out of the package on that end, they're not going to be able to see that value. Maybe as soon as they stop being a sponsor, you have an unedited piece that you can pull off or change the video up with, right? But as we start to think about video, let's think about the longevity of video. Let's not think in that moment. Let's not think just the live. The live is important. But let's start to think about how YouTube, how Facebook Watch is a library. I think Amir with Zoom did it great on Sponsorship Morning Coffee when we did it. It's a library of your content, right? Every time somebody checks out a book, we want to be able to get payment on that, right? Every time somebody watches, we want to be able to grab value. Why can't we build it into our contracts that for years, let's say it's a 5-year deal, the amount of views that's accumulated on that video, the sponsor will pay for. What that does for us as a business in sports is incentivizes us to get more views for the sponsor, right? That is in line with the sponsor's wants, right? If they want to get views, then we are literally monetary in line with how many views they get years down the road with this video. And it makes us create better content, makes us create better YouTube channels. It's something that is just in sync with growth. So again, tip of the week is this. As you're starting to get those live videos, especially in college, especially for players that into perpetuity are going to get better and better, and more people are going to want to watch those highlights. I've been watching Odell Beckham Jr. And Jarvis Landry at LSU highlights just because they were beasts over at LSU when they played, right? Building the structure so that the more views you get on those videos, the more they pay, almost from a cost per view standpoint. That incentivizes us to drive more content there. That's how we should structure it. That's how you build value in your video. And that's how you're able to, even if you don't have live games, be able to pull in money on that end from your sponsors, because you're still bringing them value despite there not being live games. So that's the tip of the week this week. Let's think about it a little bit differently. This is more of a payment structure. It's not an activation, but let's think about this. Let's start to build those pieces into our packages where I align with my sponsors to get you more views in the long run, and not just a quick shot, hey, here's how many views you got, we're done. But also your sponsor is paying for that value that you're bringing in, so that if we don't have a point where we don't get live sports, we're still able to bring in that revenue and prove that attention. Just because we don't have live sports does not mean that we don't grab attention. If we're not building our sponsorship monetization packages like that, great, we'll be giving a lot away to our sponsor because their logos will be seen on these videos, but we're not gaining anything in return. That's the piece that worries me. So that's the tip of the week this week. Think about your live videos, not only just from when you post it on Twitter with that highlight, but how can you package it into a YouTube channel and then be able to prove those views from YouTube to the sponsor and actually charge them for the views. So that's the tip of the week this week. Again, it's not that implementable thing right now today. It's more about thinking restructuring some of our packages, and on top of that, taking a risk. Taking a risk with a sponsor to see if it works. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it aligns, maybe it doesn't. But every time we take more of these risks, we're going to start changing things. We're going to start setting up a sports sponsorship that's going to be in the top echelon as far as advertising efficiency goes. So that's the tip of the week this week. Thanks everybody for tuning in. And as always, keep pushing those limits within sports sponsorship.